From an exhausting headspace of pretending to be someone she wasn't for many, many years, to transforming into the healthy woman that is today and grabbing that Gucci belt that we know all online that she was striving for. Today on Pop Podcast, I have the inspiring story of Angela Pohl. Angela!
Hello.
How are you? Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, it's great being here.
So I am so excited to talk to you. The first thing that I always noticed or that I noticed about your page was your name. Like, I was like, you better work, girl, because you're right. They do not make Gucci belts in large sizes.
That is very correct. Yes.
So take me to when you first even made that page. Like, were you just beginning your journey? Where were you at when you first started that social media page?
Yeah, so it was sometime kind of right after mid-year 2020, and I'd already made a decision to have weight loss surgery. So I was kind of in the process of getting to that space. And I feel like I ran across just a couple of random pages on Instagram, and then I almost feel like I call it the dark side. Obviously, it's not a dark side. It's like I found this other side of like Instagram where it's like all these people have these inspiring stories. And so I was like, man, I'm going to create an account, because at that point I wasn't public with anybody other than like my husband and my like mom and dad and my siblings were probably the only ones that really knew what was happening. And so I'm like, how can I create a page to where the normal people that I would see from a day-to-day basis are not seeing, what I'm going through. And then, get on this side of the inspiration side of things and really getting inspiration from others. And if I think about it, I am a very high maintenance person. I would say my husband would describe me that way. And so I've always liked clothes. I always liked fashion, but like when it came to the designer type things like that, you could play in the purse maybe arena, and that was really it. It's like even shoes probably didn't fit correct, and I don't even think I've ever owned a belt really in my entire life. And so man, that's what I'm striving for. Let me come up with a really good name that's catching. And I was like, that's what I want. Like in my life, I want to be able to go into a store and not feel self-conscious, know that something is going to actually fit. And so in my mind, with my myself, that's
and it fits now, honey. How many do you have?
I have three, and I really was hoping to get a fourth one for Christmas, and there was a Gucci bag under the tree, but my 12-year-old picked out what I got this year, and it was not the hot pink belt that I wanted.
So what made you finally decide, because I can imagine that it was a process, but what made you say enough? Like, I'm having this surgery. Did you try diets before unsuccessfully? Tell me about that part.
Oh, yeah. So I feel like probably the most successful, and I'm going to call it successful in quotes because it's like successful, I always say, for a short term and then not so much. But I did paleo probably back in like 2016-ish timeframe maybe, and lost about 60 pounds. But it's just like one of those things that if you don't stay on it, and if you're not doing it every day, guess what? Everything just like creeps back up and up and up and up again. And I felt like my body was always comfortable at like that 300-pound mark. So no matter what diet I would choose, I would go down and it would always land right back up at the 300-pound mark. So probably at the end of 2019, that 300-pound mark then became 320, which is a number I'd never seen on the scale before. And then in March of 2020, we're all sent home to work from home because of COVID. People are not leaving their houses. I'm not even getting, this, literally I would wear an Apple Watch and I'd probably step 200 steps a day because I'm like sitting in an office, and then I could just go to my restroom and then, in my own house. And so being sedentary, that 320 then became 340. And then you started hearing things like COVID is worse among people that are obese because they usually have high blood pressure or they have diabetes, and it's just worse. And I was looking at my life, and my kids at the time were 9 and 6, I believe. And I'm like, I'm too young to die. That was in my mind. Like, I've got to figure out a different way to do this. And to be honest, I had no idea that my employer actually offered assistance with this locally, like to me. I knew that
Okay.
they offered it, but you had to go to what they would call centers of excellence. And I did not realize that the weight loss center area in my local area actually was under that center of excellence starting in 2019. So as I started thinking about this, I ran across somebody that had had weight loss surgery through the weight loss surgeon that I used, realized they were at Walmart, realized it was covered, and I was like, bam, like
I'm
it
doing
just
it.
all feel like has fallen into place. I've gotten to a spot that I've never been. I'm very uncomfortable being here. I don't want to die. I want to be here for my kids. I've got to do something different. Oh, guess what? I can go 20 minutes down the road and have it done,
That's
and have it mostly
amazing.
paid for. So
That's fantastic. You know, we just partnered up with Dr. Eric Smith from 1,000 Pound Sisters on TLC to create the Berry Prep and Recover program,
mhm,
not only to help people through the process, but not everyone has that insurance offer through their job, and the cost is sometimes the only thing that's keeping them from it. So making it more accessible financially is so important, because for a lot of people, if it's not accessible, then they just kind of, it's still just something that they want. So I
right.
think it's so amazing also that you had a center of excellence. I just learned what that was actually the last couple of weeks, right in your hometown. So tell me what the process was like when you had the surgery. Like, was it, how were the first few weeks for you?
Yeah, so I would say the way my surgeon was is you were on straight liquids for 2 weeks. And on in that 2 weeks, like post surgery, I was never really in pain. I mean, I don't know if I have a high threshold for pain. I'm not really sure because we might discuss plastics here in a minute, but
Yeah.
high threshold there. Didn't really experience pain. Obviously, you're tired just because you're not getting as many calories as you would have had before. And I wasn't hungry for those 2 weeks, but it was a mental game in my head that I just wanted to choose something because you're just drinking like all day long. Plus, I am a sugar person. Like, if you pick sweet or salty, I'm always
I
going to pick
see the
sweet.
cupcakes.
Yes. I'm always going to pick sweet over salty any day of the week. But man, 2 weeks of sweet, like protein shakes over and over, I was like, I got to have something else. So I went to get low sodium chicken broth and I would drink that at night because it would help balance out that like overly sweet from a protein shake perspective. But like I said, I was never hungry, a little bit tired, but just wanted to chew something. And I wasn't really supposed to have gum or like, I guess I could have chewed on ice, but like I just had this strong desire that I just want to chew. And so those first 2 weeks, really, just from a mental perspective, was a little bit hard just because of that. But other than that, a lot easier than I would have anticipated it being.
So how much weight did you lose like within your first, let's say, year, 12 months?
Yeah, so I started, like I said, at that 340 mark. That was like the
Yeah.
highest in my recorded brain. But I started like trying to eat better when I started down the journey of getting kind of my insurance to get to approval. So
Yeah.
340, when I had surgery, I was already down to 290 at that point.
Okay.
And
Wow.
about 1 year out from kind of my surgery, if you will, I had lost a total of 190 pounds.
Ooh,
And
wow.
I kind of teeter between that 190 down to 200, somewhere in that range. That is like my comfort level, I guess. And I don't weigh myself every day now. It's all about, oh, well, these clothes still fit exactly the way that they felt before, and there's not a trigger to a number on a scale. And so if I ever get to the point where the clothes don't fit like they should, that's probably when I'll go back to the scale and start looking at that again.
I second that 1000%. I got on this scale like, well, I'm having surgery. I'm having plastics on February 26th. And so I just was like, oh, let me make sure my BMI is good. But I just got back from a couple of trips like New York,
Yes.
Miami, ate really good restaurants. And I was like, oh, let me whip myself back into shape really quick. I gotta probably lose like 7 pounds or something like that.
Yeah.
But I don't like getting on the scale because number one, like unless it's something that shows muscle and fat ratio, I know that my genetics, I have a lot of muscle. But also like we're women, it could be we're on our period or we just drink a bunch of water or maybe there's a little bit too much salt and it's holding on to the water.
Right.
It's just
Right.
So I really am excited to talk about how you ventured into plastics. So tell me about that. Like, because when you first started your bariatric journey, did you really think you were going to have plastic surgery?
I mean, you'd always heard about loose skin, I guess.
Yes.
And so um, I thought there might be a possibility of it, but I had no idea what it would look like for me. But I knew that myself, a lot of people might carry their weight, in their upper body or in their lower body. For me, I carried it everywhere. Like I felt like forehead to toes. I mean, like all the way down, right? And so as I had lost all the weight, obviously with clothes on, I felt very confident. But man, once you start it was like, I don't want to wear a sleeveless shirt, or I would never be able to wear anything backless because I have to have a bra, to like hold up these long tubular things on my body.
Yeah.
And then my legs look like, I always called them elephant legs, like that wrinkled skin that you would see like on an elephant. So I didn't want to wear, a skirt that went above the knee. I would not even think about wearing shorts, no sleeveless, nothing backless. And so I'm like, man, I have lost all of this weight. And I just want to be able to wear that and feel confident in wearing it and not think that people are looking at, any loose skin that's out there. And so that's really got me to the place that I was like, I want to do something about it. Talk to my husband about it. And clearly that is an expense.
Yeah.
And I would say I'm the breadwinner of the family, but that shouldn't be the reason why I spend all the money. I'm like, look, can we not go on as many extravagant vacations this year and let me do this for myself?
Yeah.
Just because I am a confident person, and in clothes, I feel very confident, but I just wanted to be able to feel confident in a bathing suit or feel confident in
Well, and it'll benefit him too. Let's be honest.
That's right. That's right.
So he was on board. How did you start finding your surgeon? How did you go through that process?
Yeah. So again, I think part of it is, on Instagram, there's a few surgeons that you would see kind of pop up here and there. Started looking at really their work, their body of work on what they would show. There's some local surgeons that would have been around here, but what I struggled with them is that you basically would have to call them to get any of their work because none of it was on their websites. They didn't have, any Instagram. They didn't have any social media that would show their work. And the surgeon that I ended up choosing has always said, if somebody's not willing to show their work publicly, it's probably not somebody that you want to go with.
Yeah.
And it's just always kind of stuck in the back of my mind. And so the one I went with does have a lot of following on Instagram, but he's also within 5 hours driving of me.
Okay.
So it was easy for me to get there and not have to take a plane to get there. We could drive, stay over the night and then drive back home from there.
So who was your surgeon? Do you mind telling us?
Yeah, so I used Dr. Kababi in
St. Louis,
yes, Missouri.
I'm familiar with that. Yeah. That's awesome. He
Um,
does great work. He does really
He
great.
does. I think the other thing that I was looking for too is, again, if I was going to spend money on having plastics, I wanted somebody that was not just there to remove the skin, but I think is really good about giving your body shape.
Yes,
So
body
thinking
contouring.
about the body contouring. And he was more expensive than, a lot of the others that I would look at, but I would look at their work and I would just always be drawn to his work over others that I saw. And I felt like I was willing to pay, more money to get that particular look.
Well, and it's your body. It's like when people will spend money on cars or vacations are great. I love vacations. But when we're talking about the thing that I have to wake up to every single day, live the rest of my life with, there's no time for bargain shopping when it comes
That's
to
right.
that, in my opinion.
That's right.
You go for the look that you're going for, and especially the care that you need. And you look amazing. I've looked at all your photos and everything, and he did a really, really great job.
He did. He did. So the last surgery that I've had 2 rounds. So the first
Okay.
round I had a 360 lower body lift with a fleur-de-lis tummy tuck. with Brazilian butt lift and breast augmentation and a lift. So a lot going on that
Woo!
round.
That's a lot.
I think we were in surgery for like 8 or 9 hours. My husband was sitting out in the waiting room and he's like, all these people, not that they were for plastic surgery, they were just for, any regular surgery waiting. He's like, all these people are leaving because their, loved ones are out of surgery. And I'm just still sitting there for a really long time. And that one, yeah, like I didn't even experience pain with it, which is weird because people were like, well, what did it feel like? I'm like, it just felt like I had a really hard ab workout.
Really?
And, yeah. And the biggest issue that I had was really like that first time trying to go to the restroom.
Okay.
I mean, that was like the biggest, yes. And because you couldn't really use your stomach muscles to really like push.
Yeah. Right.
No TMI, but that to me,
that's what we're here for.
Yes, that was the biggest struggle that I ended up having. And so others that I've known that have gone through the same process now is like, stay on top of that because
yes,
like if you need day one to do something for that, do it, because it got to like day 5 for me and I'd not gone to the restroom and I was almost like white as a ghost because I just like, it was almost zapping all the energy out of me. But once I was able to go, like, it was like, oh, okay, well, now it's a breeze. Like everything's easy from here.
So did you, I know that when I had my mommy maker, so I had a mommy makeover in July of 2020 after going up and down weight. I think the highest I ever got was like 290. But then I got pregnant and I had my son in December of last year. And so I knew as soon as I had him, I started looking for my surgeon. I was like, I'm going to get my body back. But when I had my first surgery, the reason I started Pop Recovery Systems is because the mental part was a little unexpected. Like I'm a very A-type personality. I'm a strong woman. Like when the doctor was like, how do you feel mentally? Like from crying to happy, like there were times that I did feel more on the crying side, but I wasn't going to share that with him because I felt like he did his job. Like he did a great job. This was all internal. Did you experience any post-op blues or post-op depression of any kind after your surgery?
I really didn't.
Wow.
I know that a lot of people, have done it. I will say though, that after my second round of surgery, I think it's from losing weight. I had not had a period since like 2021 or something.
Okay.
After that second surgery that I had in November, it came back. And so just like the mood swings that you would experience with kind of hormonal changes really came back as well. So I don't know if it just like regulated something in my body to get me like back on track, but I was like, I didn't really welcome this thing back, but okay, like it is what it is. But really from like a mood or a mental state, that is the only thing that has really impacted me is just that.
Okay.
I haven't had those like up and down kind of mood swings with hormonal changes from that in like 3 years.
That's awesome. So what about the eating part? Like, did you find it easy to transition from eating for weight loss to eating for healing and plastic surgery?
I don't know that I really changed anything because I was already, I would say like in maintenance. I've been in maintenance for like a year, but I would say going back to that, the mindset of, to your point, eating for weight loss and then eating to maintain where you are, or to your point, like eating to recover. That was hard for me mentally. And that's probably one of the hardest things from a mental perspective is that, I probably need to up my calories, at this point. Like when you get into maintenance, I probably need to eat more carbs than I've been eating before. I don't like tracking my food. That to me is a trigger just for me personally.
Yeah.
I do not enjoy doing that at all. So it's like a conscious effort to at least, I've started like meal prepping too. So I know kind of what the calorie count is for each one, even though I'm not tracking it, but it's like trying to get a good balance of focusing on protein, but then also really trying to focus in on getting the right kind of carbs in as well to give you that energy and to help maintain where you're at and for recovery as well. I would say after that first surgery, the one thing I did experience is I was hungry for like a month. I was like constantly hungry. And I do think I did take it as that's my body telling me I need something to help heal itself.
Yes.
So I would give in to those urges. I would just try to eat something on the healthier side of things and not garbage kind of going in because it makes me feel terrible.
Yeah,
Eat-
exactly.
When I eat like overly processed foods, don't think I'm perfect because that does happen. But um, if I try to stick to, fruits as like that sugar source, or from a carb perspective, sticking to like rice or sweet potatoes instead of like enriched carbs or anything like that, it does help me feel better just from an energy perspective, and it doesn't give me that yucky feeling, a few hours down the road.
Now, have you had other like patients reach out to you while they're on their journey and share with you some of the things that they're going through?
I have. So a couple of things. One, I mentioned the weight loss center that I've used here. There's a lot of people here local that have used it. And we try to do like meetups, like 3 or 4 times a year. And again, like going back to the beginning, I said I'm pretty much an introverted person, and like trying to get involved with a group of people was terrifying to me to begin with. And now I'm like the person that leads the charge, if you will, like it sets this thing up. So it's completely different for me. But it like gives me the most joy when I get either notes from people or people, even telling me in person, like, you're the reason that I'm where I'm at today. Like I literally just received one over the weekend that said, hey, I'm 100 pounds down and you're really the reason. If you wouldn't have shared your story, I would have never done it. So
Wow.
things like that, like just make me feel so good. Like
Yeah.
I'm not there. I'm not going to be the person that's gonna like have 1 million followers. I don't care about that. Like if I can just impact 5 people and then those 5 people impact 5 more, I feel like the purpose in me doing this for myself. So I got healthy, but then the other purpose is I've helped other people get healthy along the way. So I have lots of people reach out from a weight loss perspective, and then we have several of us that are now going through the plastic surgery aspect of it as well. A few of us, if you use the same surgeon. Some of the others are going through the consult phase of it, of going to different people for consults, and so they'll reach back out to me like, "What did you experience, and did you do these things together?" So I love being that sounding board, I guess,
Yeah.
for all things weight loss or plastic surgery.
And it's really needed as well, something that's reliable because there's so much misinformation out there. If our listeners wanted to find you and ask you questions, where could they find you?
Yeah, so on Instagram, you mentioned it. My handle is losing for health in a Gucci belt. So reach out to me there. It's a perfect place. I feel like I've connected with locals, like I said, but then I felt like I've really made strong connections with several people across the United States, which has been fun as well. I've met several of the ones that I've connected with across the United States as well, which always makes it super fun.
Yes, absolutely. And we are going to have the handle down in the caption so you can go find the page and just take a look. Just it's such an inspiring story. And if you know anyone who's going on their weight loss or plastics journey, please direct them to this channel. We want to just be able to share real stories so people can get real views of what's happening in the bariatrics to plastics world without any surgeons putting their hands on it. We want you to see it from patient's perspective. And we'll see you next time on Pop Podcast.